Welcome, fellow aviators. I'm TH, a certified flight instructor. Whether you're building hours, upgrading your ratings, or stepping into the command seat of a much more complex aircraft, you're here because you are pilots who are taking this lesson to take their skills and career to the next level. Today, we're undertaking a highly critical mission. We aren't just talking about flying. We're talking about legality, safety, and your absolute responsibility as pilot in command. This explainer is dedicated to mastering the maintenance logbook, because knowing exactly how to read this document is how we prove, without a shadow of a doubt, our aircraft's airworthiness. Let's get right to work. Here's our systematic flight plan for today's explainer. First, proving aircraft airworthiness. Second, decoding the annual inspection. Third, 100-hour inspections and airworthiness directives. Fourth, airworthiness approval tags explained. And finally, mastering FAR 33.9 entries. We won't be skipping a single regulatory detail today.
Okay, let's dive into Section 1, Proving Aircraft Airworthiness.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why are we meticulously checking logbooks? Well, as you advance in your career, there's absolutely no guarantee you'll stay at your original flight school, where maintenance control handles all the paperwork for you. A pilot might get their certificate, go out and buy an airplane, and literally fly for 2 years without even speaking to another instructor. So possessing the exact knowledge of how to check a maintenance logbook isn't just a good practice. Knowing the status of your machine is your absolute legal responsibility. To do this efficiently, we use what's called an aircraft status sheet. This sheet shows precisely when the next inspection is due. But here's the critical standard. You cannot just take a mechanic's word for it or rely on a spreadsheet summary. You must physically see the real entry in the actual maintenance logbook. Your checklist has to account for the annual inspection, the 100-hour inspection, the altimeter and static pressure checks, the transponder, the ELT annual, the ELT battery, the airframe, the engine, the propeller, and all airworthiness directives, the whole shebang. And here's an insider tip straight from the hangar. Always start at the end of each logbook section. Why? Because that is exactly where you're going to find the most recent, up-to-date entries.
Moving right along to Section 2, Decoding the Annual Inspection.
Let's transition over to breaking down the actual physical logbook entries, step by step. Reading the fine print here is really what separates a professional aviator from an amateur. Take a close look at this entry from an airframe logbook. Notice the phrasing right up at the top. Complied with an annual inspection IAW Piper SM. That IAW stands for in accordance with. This proves the mechanic didn't just guess. They follow the manufacturer's specific service manual in 14 CFR Part 43 Appendix D to the letter. Now, as you read through that block of text, note the specific maintenance actions, things like repacking wheel bearings and replacing filters. Also, keep in mind that critical systems checks, like your altimeter, static system, and transponder checks, are typically recorded right here in this airframe section. Looking back at that same entry, it specifically notes the ELT batteries are due in July 2017. This brings us to a strict, non-negotiable rule, the ELT half-life. Listen, even if that emergency locator transmitter battery has never been used, it is only legally serviceable until half of its useful life has expired. You must replace the battery right at that half-life mark, no exceptions. Furthermore, you need to understand that if a logbook simply states ELT battery was changed, that specific action resets the 12-calendar-month inspection for the ELT. It resets it even if the mechanic didn't specifically write the words ELT annual. That's absolutely crucial to know. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we decode the critical top-line acronyms from the logbook header. When you look at the top of an entry, you've got to decode these abbreviations flawlessly. First up, TTAF. That stands for Total Time Airframe. This is literally the absolute chronological life of the aircraft chassis from day one. Then we have ENG-TSN, which stands for Engine Time Since New. These numbers, folks, they are the baseline metrics for your aircraft's legal and mechanical lifespan. Right next to those, you're often going to see ENG-SMOH, which means Engine Since Major Overhaul. Let me explain exactly what a major overhaul physically entails in the hangar, because this isn't just a simple tune-up. The engine is taken tail down and completely rebuilt. Critical internal parts are replaced, or both old and new parts are carefully fitted together to meet incredibly strict tolerances. Basically, it's the same engine block, but virtually like new. And a word to the wise, always read the whole logbook box entirely. You absolutely must ensure another inspection or limitation hasn't been hidden away in the bottom lines of the text. Let's keep pushing forward.
Section 3. 100-hour inspections and ADs.
Having mastered the annual, we transition firmly to the next critical components of an aircraft's legal lifespan, the 100-hour inspections and airworthiness directives, covering both the engine and the propeller. On the screen, we have a primary example of a 100-hour inspection entry. Again, we see that IAW phrasing, confirming the work was done in accordance with the Piper Service Manual. But focus your attention on the bottom of the entry. You'll see the statement certifying the aircraft has been inspected, followed by a signature and an A&P certificate number. Listen carefully. That specific signature and certificate number are exactly what legally approves the aircraft for return to service. Without it, your airplane is legally grounded. Let's contrast these two inspections to really ground the regulations in practical reality, because you'll often see this at high-volume flight schools. A 100-hour inspection is a stringent regulatory requirement. It's used to determine the actual legal airworthiness of an aircraft carrying passengers for hire or one being used for flight instruction. A 50-hour inspection, well, that cannot be used to determine airworthiness. A 50-hour check is strictly an insurance thing or just a preventative maintenance best practice. Make sure you know the difference. Next up, we must conquer airworthiness directives, or ADs. These are mandatory FAA orders, and they must be tracked flawlessly. Let's look at a specific example, the Piper Arrow. There's an AD for the Arrow's external fuel injection lines. This specific directive requires checks every 100 hours of time in service, or TIS. But that's not all. The AD also requires checks anytime maintenance is performed on that fuel injection system. So you see, AD compliance isn't always a simple calendar date. It's heavily tied to how much the aircraft flies and what systems are touched during routine maintenance.
Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds. Airworthiness approval tags explained.
So let's shift our focus from whole aircraft logbooks down to the specific granular component paperwork. When dealing with parts, you're frequently going to encounter the Airworthiness Approval Tag, commonly referred to on the hangar floor as a yellow tag. This can be a Form 334 or an FAA Form 801303, referenced in Advisory Circular 20-62E. This document identifies a part or a group of parts for export approval and conformity determination from production approval holders. Crucially, it also serves as the legal approval for return to service after maintenance or alteration by an authorized airworthiness maintenance program under Part 135 operations. To truly understand these tags, we need to break down the two distinct sides of the FAA's approval tag structure. First up, we have the original airworthiness side. This is used to approve or certify that new and used parts actually meet conformity requirements right out of production. On the other side of the coin, we have the recurrent airworthiness side of the FAA. This certifies approval for a return to service following maintenance on an already existing part. Let's walk through a highly specific, real-world example to prove how this actually works. Imagine your aircraft needs maintenance on its oil cooler. Step 1, your mechanic takes off the oil cooler. Step 2, because it requires specialized work, you send it out to a specific oil cooler service center where they overhaul it according to strict regulations. Step 3, they send that specific part back to you accompanied by an airworthiness approval tag. This proves that a specific part, not the whole airplane, just that individual cooler, has been tracked, overhauled, and legally approved to be bolted back onto your engine. Now that tag is just one type of what we call a maintenance release document. This is a signed release signifying an item is returned to service after maintenance or testing. Acceptable forms of this documentation include a repair station tag containing adequate information, an FAA Form 337 for major repairs or major alterations, the FAA Form 8130-3 we just discussed, or a standard maintenance record entry. The non-negotiable rule here is that whichever document is used, it must be signed by an appropriately certified person qualified for that relevant function. Which brings us to our final leg, Section 5, Mastering FAR 43.9 Entries. We are now transitioning into the absolute bedrock of maintenance legality, the uncompromising regulatory text of FAR 43.9, which governs the content, form, and disposition of maintenance records. So the crucial point is understanding the 4 exact legal requirements for a maintenance record entry under FAR 43.9 paragraph A. Number 1, there must be a description of the work performed or a reference to data acceptable to the administrator. Number 2, the date of completion of the work. Number 3, the name of the person performing the work. And number 4, assuming the work was performed satisfactorily, the signature, certificate number, and kind of certificate held by the person approving the work. I want to stress this heavily. That signature legally constitutes the approval for return to service only for the specific work performed. But a true professional knows the exceptions just as well as the rules, right? FAR 43.9 has clear boundaries. Paragraph B states that holders of Part 121 or 135 certificates, providing continuous airworthiness maintenance programs, well, they make records in accordance with their specific parts, not the standard general aviation rules. Paragraph C explicitly exempts persons performing inspections in accordance with Part 91, Part 125, or certain sections of Part 135 from these specific Paragraph A recording requirements. Finally, Paragraph D adds a layer. In addition to the standard entry, any major repairs and major alterations must be entered on a specific form, like the Form 337, and disposed of exactly in the manner prescribed in Part 43, Appendix B. There are 0 regulatory omissions tolerated here.
So, what does this all mean for us? This brings us to a deep, provocative question, the ultimate reality check for any aviator advancing their career. If an FAA inspector walked into your hangar today, asked for your keys, and demanded your paperwork, could you flawlessly, confidently prove your aircraft's airworthiness using only your logbooks? As pilot in command, it is your responsibility to ensure the answer to that is a resounding yes. Take this rigorous standard, apply it to your own flight ops, and elevate your professional proficiency. Until next time, fly safe and keep those records sharp.